Well, hello, this is Ina from Taproot Tarot, and I am super excited to tell you that I managed to get a copy of the Nigel Jackson Tarot, which has been on my wish list, and which I think is sometimes hard to come by. Many, many thanks to Tarot Garden for offering it for a really reasonable price. I was so pleased to find it. Every now and then I will browse Tarot Garden and see if they have anything that happens to be on my wish list, and they did, and I'm so delighted. One aspect of this tarot that I'm super excited about is the emphasis on Pythagorean number associations in the book. And in fact, as I was looking around, making sure I really wanted to purchase this, I found that there is a copy of just the book of the second edition, which is called the Medieval Enchantment Tarot, which I believe has the same content. As far as I could tell. It does come in blue packaging. There is a copy of that, last I checked, for sale on Poshmark for 20 bucks. So I was a little bit tempted by that. But then I thought, as a collector, I'd really love this tarot deck, especially this edition, the white edition, which is the first one, is particularly desirable. And the art is beautiful. So I was super excited to find it. And then, check this out, not only was it priced very reasonably on Tarot Garden, but they have you pay through your PayPal account, or Venmo, I think. And when I do that, unless it's like an international order or something, I just pay with electronic check. I think that might be a little bit of a savings for the vendor, so that would come right out of my checking account. And just generally, again, unless it's like an international order or something, I don't put tarot on my credit card, because if I can't pay for it with my checking account, I don't need it. But when I opened my PayPal account, I saw I had $18 in credit card rewards money. So the price I actually paid for this was a steal, minus that 18 bucks. And I know there's no such thing as free credit card rewards money. Like, they've, I'm sure, made way more than that for me, but I'm gonna take the win where I can get it. So I'm very pleased to have gotten this. It just came in the mail today, and I was thinking I'd kind of like to make a video today, but didn't really have any ideas. Or rather, I had a million ideas and couldn't choose one. So this made the decision for me. It arrived in the mail super fast, like another ups to Tarot Garden for getting that in the mail to me super quick. I'll put a link to their site. I'm sure everyone watching this most likely already knows how to get to them, but just in case, that's not, I get nothing for promoting them whatsoever, but I've had such good experience. Not just, well, I have only gotten, vintage collectible decks from Tarot Garden, but they also have in-print decks, both new and used. And as far as I know, they're a small business that's doing quite a service to the tarot community, so I have no qualms promoting them. Well, I figured, since I now have both of these decks, the Rose Tarot by Nigel Jackson, as well as the Nigel Jackson Tarot, I thought we could compare the two. I'm sure that's been done before. I haven't seen a video where that's been done, but I can't imagine I'm the first. But you haven't seen it done by me yet, so let's go ahead and do it. I went ahead and put both decks in the order of the Nigel Jackson Tarot book. And the Rose Tarot is one that is just kind of like on my to-do list. And I love the historical references, the philosophical stuff in it. It's based in Hermetic philosophy, which I find really interesting. The main Hermetic chapter is the very last one, which I've skimmed over, but haven't read thoroughly. So I need to do that still. Inner Signs of the Rose. I think it has a chapter at the beginning that's a little bit of an introductory, but mostly, yeah, Secrets of the Rose Tarot, very quick chapter. Mostly this book is individual card meanings. Like I said, one thing I was really excited about with the Nigel Jackson Tarot is that I had read that there was a lot of emphasis on the Pythagorean philosophy and number associations. I do have a book based directly on the writings of Pythagoras, which I reference quite a bit just to have an idea of that philosophy separate from tarot, because when anything is written about from a tarot perspective, it's going to have a lot of extra stuff put in usually. So I kind of enjoy going to more source material just to see what the philosophy at the time would have been. And a lot of what we know about ancient philosophy does come from Renaissance writers and philosophers. So that is contemporary with the origins of the tarot, and I find that cool. So this book is cool. I need to look at it more. It's very much focused on individual card meanings, which is fun. He has a deep interest in pre-19th and 20th century tarot perspectives, which I think is really cool. And although he does use imagery for the pips that is at least somewhat influenced by the Smith-Waite imagery, I would say that's especially true for the Nigel Jackson Tarot, as far as I can tell. I haven't been through this deck yet. So let's check out my new deck before we compare the two. This, I'm so pleased, is in exquisite condition. And this deck is from 2007, I think. Let me double check that. My dog is snarfling over there. 2000, okay. So it must be the second one, the reprint that was from later. So this is the book. Let's check it out a little. So here are the contents: historical origin and significance, reading fortunes by the cards, and stations of the psyche. Okay. I have flipped through this book a tiny bit, and it's in the first chapter where we find quite a bit, you know, after the general tarot history part, we have quite a bit of Pythagorean philosophy. Starting right about at page 10. And a little bit later, 15, whoops. On page 15, we get into the Tetractys, breaking the tarot code, the Tetractys key. That's pretty cool. I'm guessing he, or, you know, whatever his influences were, probably influenced Anna Maria Marsucci, who wrote the book that I initially learned TDM from. And then it goes through the different associations with the numbers. And like I said, this is something I've read from a number of different perspectives, and I'm always happy to bring in yet another perspective. Not a lot of pictures, so we go through each individual meaning pretty quickly, whereas in the Rose Tarot, individual cards have more of a write-up. So, oh my gosh, it looks like there's, oh, you know what? Then we have more of a write-up from a different perspective. Interesting. So this does go through each card from different perspectives. That's pretty cool. This looks like a fun book to get into. So super glad that I got this for the sake of the book. Interesting. Legend of the Soul, the no-stick narrative in the tarot. Super interesting stuff. Now, I'm not one to think that tarot was used as a tool to specifically transmit secret teachings. I think that would have been ridiculous to try to do so through a medium that was already persecuted because it's a tool of gambling. So most of the laws and restrictions against tarot throughout the centuries have been because of gambling. And I think if you were trying to transmit secret teachings, you would do so by ways that were less controversial. And also, all of the different secret teachings, so supposed philosophies of secret teachings, are equally compelling, but they're all contradictory and they can't all be true. So I think that's another reason to think that those probably aren't valid. But I still think they're interesting. I don't know that Nigel Jackson makes that argument. I just wanted to be clear on my thoughts around these different philosophical layers that we can put on the tarot. I think they're all valid and really cool as ways of interpreting tarot and making it meaningful for each of us individually. But I think a lot of the philosophical references that are inherent to the tarot are ones that weren't secret or occult. They're ones that were kind of well known for the time. So yeah, super cool looking book. I'm really excited to look into it. I did notice that even in the back, we have a Pythagorean spread. And then there's a little bit of Platonic philosophy in the spread section, which I think is cool. So very cool. Super excited to look more into that. And again, a pristine, almost pristine copy of the book. So I'll be careful not to break the binding on it, just to preserve it. Here is the box that contains the cards with the bateleur or juggler on the front, who's actually juggling in the modern sense. Now you might know the juggler from the Renaissance sense refers to the cup and ball trick. But this is cool too. And then we have a 9 of Cups on the back. How gorgeous is that? Now, I had it in my head that the art in this deck was substantially more naive than the art of the Rose Tarot, and especially more naive than the art of his very limited Majors Only deck. What was that called? Fortuna's Wheel Tarot, I believe. That's a super rare one, but the art is beautiful if you can find the images online. The book based on that tarot is in print still, but only has black and white images, unfortunately. I was basing that kind of on the cover, which is Temperance, and you can see her stance is rather cartoonish. It's gorgeous, I think, but it just has a very cartoonish feel, especially compared to like the Temperance from the Fortuna's Wheel Tarot. I'll tag an image here. But then I went through a few more of these cards and I was wrong. This art is stunning, and you know, I figured it was just going to be a natural development as any artist becomes more refined, but there are cards in here that I would consider more refined than in the Rose Tarot, so it might not be a linear progression. Here I am again, filming late in the day, even though I know better. I'm gonna try and move us into a spot where the sun won't be weird and glary. So I have not studied either deck extensively, although they make a lot of historical references that I might recognize and be able to talk about. So I'll do that wherever I see it. But otherwise, we're just going to compare these two decks for the fun of it. Here is the back of the Rose Tarot, which I think is just gorgeous. And the back of the Nigel Jackson Tarot, also known in the second edition as the Medieval Enchantment Tarot. Cats in both of them. And we have the butterfly, which we see in the Piemontese decks. I love the grapes here. The ass's ears are a reference to really traditional fool images from the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. And here we have the Magus from the Rose Tarot and the Juggler from the Nigel Jackson Tarot. The Magus being more of an alchemist and perhaps astrologer, which makes sense for the philosophy of the deck. And the Juggler juggling in a modern sense, but also with some cup and ball stuff, a die, some cards, and a slapstick, so super traditional. We have the High Priestess in the Rose Tarot and the Popess, with a peacock, possibly a reference to the Juno card, and even her lining or fringe of her cloak has peacock feather type design to it. I really love her. I think she's amazing. I may have already mentioned, my impression is that the pips in the Nigel Jackson Tarot are more overtly Smith-Waite influenced. Here, it seems like the triumphs are more Smith-Waite influenced, which is interesting. I have lilies and roses here, for example. Pillars and crescent moon and all that stuff, but both beautiful. And here we switch. This is a little more Smith-Waite and this is more Renaissance. Very cool. So he's got an eclectic style for sure, which I love. More roses, some shafts of wheat. Still a traditional shield though, just with roses on it. She's got a shield as well, but with a swan. And some cool alchemical references there. Super cool. See a couple of ram's heads there. Maybe a Pythagorean reference as well as the Hermetic alchemical stuff. I like that his orb has a 4 on it, whereas we have a more traditional orb and staff here. A key for the Emperor is interesting. I think these are both beautiful, both super religious for folks who are uncomfortable with overt religious references, but I think this is just gorgeous. The keys as symbols of the papal city. Interesting five-pointed star on this one. Communion wafers, maybe? Am I right about that? I'm guessing. With the wine. And possibly behind the wine, a reliquary, maybe? Tell me what you think. Probably says in the book. And this is named Johannes Presbyter. Not familiar with this person. Both love cards with 2 lovers and 1 angel. I like her little book in hand. Lots of roses in both tarots, really. Both of these are super cool. We have the 4 evangelists here, but looking all like angelic in a wrathful sort of way. With Holy Spirit, is that what that is, my religious folks? With some hermetic imagery going on, that's cool. I love these 4 horses. They're a little bit wacky, but overall, super cool. More of an ethereal justice card with the clouds on the mountaintop there. How gorgeous is that? Love the detail of the crown. And a more grounded justice here. Lumen Natura, the light of nature, maybe? This guy always looks like George Carlin to me, which I know I shouldn't say, because if you didn't see that yourself, now you might not be able to not see it, but nothing wrong with looking like George Carlin, though. I love that for a hermit. This is interesting. So he's got the rosary at his waist, which we see in several old hermit cards, such as the Catalan Joffrey. Look at this shell, though, the shell of a pilgrim, which in modern tarots we normally would see on the Fool card, but here we see on the Hermit, which also makes sense. And that is associated with, is it El Camino Santiago? That pilgrimage route that you can still trek in northern Spain. In the Rose Tarot, we have the Wheel, and we have a more traditional Wheel of Fortune in the Nigel Jackson Tarot. A lot of more Christian Hermeticism displayed in this, along with some astrology, which is cool, which would have gone hand in hand with Renaissance era Christianity. This one is more traditional. We have the progression of the person who reigns, the person who has reigned. I can't remember the exact translations of these, but someone who's definitely not reigning it right now, and I will reign, I think, maybe is that one. All with ass's ears for being foolish enough to think that their fate is permanent. And then we have a fate with the spindle and the distaff. How cool is that? Lovely. I love both of these. I like this angry guy, but then we have a purry kitten lion here. And they're both wearing the same, or wearing, but her dress is the same color as the lion, which is some cool symbolism. And we have the traditional pillars of fortitude, labeled fortitude here and strength here. She is winged in this one. Oh, and also has a pillar. How cool. Both lovely. This Hanged Man is really reminiscent of the Swiss pattern. Hanged Man with his military jacket. That's interesting. Some stone structure back there that I hope he writes about in the book, because that's cool. Both are losing their coins. Both also appear to be in a meditative state, which is a more modern translation of this card. Lovely. This death is awesome. Playing a drum, doing a little dance, like the dance macabre. A tarot friend was just messaging me this morning about the dance macabre. So it's lovely to see that in this deck today. Both labeled and numbered. Ooh, we have a solar eclipse in this one. That's cool. Hourglass. Little Froggins meeting an unfortunate end. Both really gorgeous, even with the somewhat cartoonish stance of the Nigel Jackson Tarot. Really interesting alchemical interpretation with a masculine or non-binary, or non-gendered, I should say, figure. This one possibly more feminine, but not necessarily. More lilies and roses here too. Interesting. Oh, these are fun. So we have more of a Baphomet here. Which finds its way on more modern tarot cards. Look at the grapes repeated there. And then we have a more traditional medieval devil here, which I love. With his animalistic knees and belly face, dragons and torch and all that stuff. And even the antlers. These two seem more imprisoned, and these ones seem a little bit more like willing acolytes. That's pretty cool. Towers, both based on medieval and Renaissance depictions of the Tower of Babel, which isn't traditional to tarot, but it makes a lot of sense. This is super cool, this depiction of lightning. I love interesting depictions of lightning, and that is awesome. No people falling in this one, whereas we do have someone falling here, as well as the pieces of rock exploding off. Cool. This one reminds me of the Cosmic Tarot. Both really beautiful star cards. With two different birds. This one's looking more like a phoenix, and this one is something purple. Now this is where I was really starting to see more detail in the Nigel Tarot, in the Moon and Sun cards. So I think it really is a matter of just two different stylistic choices and not necessarily a progression of skill for these decks. But look how cool that is. The canines are red-eyed. Janua Inferni. Gates of Hell? I don't know. Because Janua, I'm guessing, refers to Janus, who rules gates, and Inferni, the fire. So I wonder if that means Gates of Hell. I'm not looking it up right now. I will later. But that's kind of interesting. Very different vibes here, so you can see what I meant before with the greater detail in the sun and moon of the Nigel Jackson Tarot. And here we have a musician lounging by the lake with some swans. Really lovely. And here we have a couple of folks, you know, they almost look like sun worshippers or something. It's kind of cool. There are ram's heads on the sacred looking fire in the middle. That's pretty neat. We have another phoenix. That's pretty cool for a judgment card. I like that. More traditional here, except also with fire. Really gorgeous. Okay, I have to find my world card for the Rose Tarot. This is interesting with the lamb. More of those fun angel head things. And really beautiful here with crown of laurels, the golden crown. More traditional in arrangement with a rainbow colored sash. Beautiful. Ignis, I'm guessing means ignite, which makes sense for an Ace of Swords. More laurels and roses here. What's something there? So all these Rose Tarot pips have little vignettes in them. This is reminding me a lot of Paul Huson's, and you know, Paul Huson also had a tarot similarly named to one of Nigel Jackson's, so I'm wondering, thinking they probably interacted and shared thoughts quite a lot. Okay, I blocked that sun, so it should look a little less harsh lighting-wise. And I believe these knights are possibly meant to appear as one masculine and one feminine knight. Quite cool. Looks like the Nigel Jackson Tarot is perhaps more elemental. This one almost has more like Five of Cups looking figures in it from the Smith-Waite interpretation. The meaning for this is really verbose, but basically boils down to kind of a similar meaning to the Smith-Waite deck, which I thought was kind of funny. It's kind of dancing around the meaning a little bit, but ultimately ending up in the same spot. I like this. Love this Icarus depiction. I love these Griffin and Fox cards. So you might see where I was coming from, where the Nigel Jackson Tarot pips, at least, stick more to Smith-Waite cards. This one has a few references here and there, but deviates quite a bit more. Although you can kind of see, you know, if this is Rapunzel, where the meanings would be similar. So, you know, I don't like pips that tell me how to interpret them. But I still think there's a lot of value in these decks, for sure. Especially in the Triumphs and Courts. But I do enjoy the art still of these pips. That's pretty neat. So we have the tradition here of old playing cards with names of legendary characters. Here we have David with his harp. And if you're interested in that tradition, I have a whole series on Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot in my shorts. It was the Drop 'em 78 challenge last year, so do check out those videos if you want to know more about the tradition of naming court cards, minus the knights, after legendary figures. I do have these out of order though, don't I? So let's start again. And we've got Auger as the Knave of Swords here in the Rose Tarot, but an unnamed Page of Swords. I wonder if these cards were stretched, or if the art was stretched, because that poor horse. I don't know, all of his horses are just a little wacky looking, in this deck especially. Or maybe a little more refined in the Rose Tarot. But the knights would not have been present in the four-suited playing cards where the courts were traditionally named after legendary characters, so that's why the knights are not named here. Ooh, I love an owl for the Queen of Swords. She's super cool too, though. And King of Swords with David. Oh, and who is she? Palace. We've got some spades on his jacket there. A little reference to French suited pips. Really beautiful, like ethereal kind of gauze over this cup. Quite pretty. Aqua. That might be an I Ching reference, but I'm not sure. We do have some hearts there. And a heart there as well. As well as diamonds and clubs, to be fair. Mermaids in both, that's interesting. I like that a lot. More lilies and roses. Lounging musicians are a theme in this deck. Similar stances here. Oh my goodness, I had a battery change and then I recorded the last half on the wrong setting. So this is a redo and I'll probably keep it pretty quick because my dogs think they are about to starve. I just love this imagery. This is beautiful, but maybe a little less creative. I always love a unicorn damsel image. I really like these details here. Interesting, this guy is raking the reflections of the moon. Similar bridges in this card. It's interesting to see the different ways that he interprets the same card. I love this one. And we saw this on the back of the box for this deck. It's so beautiful. And we've got some swallows in the sky too, in addition to this fantastical phoenix type bird. Lovely. More religious overtones here, with a symbol of charity. One of the religious virtues. I am not remembering the name. I keep wanting to say liturgical virtues. I know that's not right. It's the end of the day, my friends. Lovely images both. Really cool moon and sun in this one, and the fountain in this. Lots of fun repetition with his symbolism. The Hire, I think, is the Knave of Cups here. He is a hunter with his horn and hound. And I just love the beautiful scenery in the courts of the Nigel Jackson Tarot. Lots of oak leaves throughout, along with the shells and other watery symbolism, since this is more of an elemental tarot. These wacky horses just crack me up. Nice little detail back there. More ornate horse with the rose and the hearts. And for the Rose Tarot, we have Judith as the Queen of Cups. Again, some ornate clothing and roses. These are both just beautiful though. She's got some seashells and a heart on her throne. Love the waterfall imagery. I think all the others are more seaside. And Carolus. I really love how he has the stance and the look of a French-style four-suited playing card deck, which are the ones who had these traditional legendary names to them. And here, more seashells and a heart necklace, which is lovely. Imperial orb. And we've got batons for the Rose Tarot and staves in the form of arrows for the Nigel Jackson Tarot. Here we have air. This is super cool. I love the details here. Lots of imperial orbs thrown about in both decks. Flying fish to kind of tie together the air of this suit with the water of the boat. Another boat here. Both of them have lanterns hanging off of them. That's cool. This guy chilling. Got a mason here, doing some engraving. And more of a farmer in this one. My neighbor across the street is coughing his lungs out. I'm not sure if you can hear that. It's pretty loud. He's on his porch across the street. You can hear it from inside my house. So we've got two different fights going on here. Both lovely images. I love their pantaloons. Very snazzy. Got some clubs on the shield. Oh, maybe not. I guess those aren't really clubs. I like the ones in this deck that are more neutral, a little less scenic. Although this is a pretty scene. It's being crowned with some laurels. And another pair where one is fighting a creature and the other is fighting a group of people, as with a couple of cards ago. Yeah, we've got movement in both of these, but not that annoying horizontal wands. I find it annoying. But that's just me. I do like these bunnies. I love the shooting star in this one too. Mercurial messenger. The detail in this one is just super cool. Oh, that's a mace. I don't know what the one was that I was thinking of earlier. It's like a handle with some chains. It's like a bludgeon, but with chains. I don't know my medieval armory very well. Oh, and I was foreshadowing to this guy because this is re-recorded. So yeah, what is that? It's not a mace, because that was the spiky ball thing, but it's something similar. So this is intense imagery here. We've got quite the medieval weapon, a burning book, some downcast people. I look forward to looking that up in the book. And then here is more of like an old style, stylized wolf, it looks like to me. That is pretty cool. And Lancelot as the Knave of Batons. And then some lovely countryside in the background for the Page of Staves. Another very silly, stretched out horse, but otherwise a lovely card. More oak leaves here. Oh, do you hear my puppy sounding so miserable because he's about to perish for lack of dog food? And barking at somebody. Arjane as the Queen of Batons here. I love the headpiece of the Queen of Staves. You know, she does have a club or clover on the back of her throne, so maybe those are supposed to kind of represent clubs or clovers. And Alexander as the King of Batons. Beautiful. Tara with some wheat and coins and the rose. Just lovely. And some oak branches for this Ace of Coins with some wild roses. I love both of these. Lots of duality in this card. The white and the red rose. The silver and gold orb and the two-tailed mer person. Very cool. I don't know who she's supposed to be. She looks really magical and I like it. Just love these bees on the Three of Coins. And we've got a scene out this window, working in the fields with one of those cool windows made out of bottles. I love those. Really interesting details in this card. Similar castles in both here, a little more religious on this side. Some unfortunate folks here, more reminiscent of the Smithwaite tradition. I really like this guy, a wandering hermit kind of person. There is sometimes imagery of charity, the cardinal virtue, or I'm sorry, the, is it theological virtue? I cannot remember. But the religious virtue, yeah, theological probably. But charity is often, or sometimes depicted as somebody feeding birds. Which is a more, which is a later interpretation of that as a theological virtue. Normally, the burning heart represents putting love of the divine over love for yourself, and including like the pelicans feeding its babies from its breast, as well as a mother breastfeeding a baby. Those are all putting the love of something greater over love for yourself, which is the older meaning of charity. Got some alchemical symbolism in this Eight of Coins. That's pretty cool. Whereas this one is a more literal accountant. Love that cozy cat and cup of tea with a bag of, I don't know, money, spoils. And here with some riches. And really lovely tens of coins. I often think this one is a pear tree at first until I look closer and they're like stars or suns. I love this cornucopia scene. So colorful and lovely. And then this is cool. A lot of this imagery, the oak leaves, wheat bundles, and the checkerboard pattern all remind me of the Utapakar symbolism. Although here the checkerboard is more of a wall, it's often a floor for Utapakar, in which case it represents strategy. All right, Knave of Coins is Hector. And some beautiful scenery for this Page of Coins. Another unfortunate stretched out horse, but otherwise I think this card is super cool. Rachel as the Queen of Coins. And this queen with her bundles of wheat in the background, or on her throne. And finally, Julius Caesar, with the clever inclusion of a crown of laurels with his imperial crown. And another king with some wheat. And another imperial orb. Awesome! I love both of these. Do you have a favorite of these two? Let me know. Let me know any favorite symbolism that you have. I do look forward to diving more into these books. One of these days, you know, I've got a huge list of stuff to get to on my tarot to-do list. I am super grateful to Tarot Garden for offering the Nigel Jackson Tarot for such a reasonable price. I was able to check something off of my wish list. I'm so excited. I appreciate you for joining me today. Thank you so much. I hope this was fun. It was fun for me. And now I'm going to go feed my dog. So thanks again, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.